Best cornbread in town. Let's make some. So we're going to make homemade cornbread today, and welcome back to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. This is Sandy, and cornbread is an easy, old-fashioned recipe, and I'm using yellow cornmeal today. Now there is white cornmeal, but those are personal preferences. Now one of the things you do have to decide is if I'm going to use my regular Himalayan salt or just regular table salt. Most recipes for cornbread will ask for table salt. So in our bowl, I put in 3 cups of regular all-purpose flour, and to that I'm going to add 4 teaspoons of baking powder. Now I'm doubling the recipe, so if you only want to make 1 pan, you're going to halve this recipe. Now I'm going to add just 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, which isn't a lot of baking soda, but we have baking powder in there anyway. And because I'm using table salt, I'm going to use 1.5 teaspoons of table salt. Now the reason I use table salt versus my regular Himalayan salt, because it's hard to really grind it fine unless you're using a coffee grinder. And so it's just better if you just use the table salt because it's thick. And then we're going to add the cornmeal, and we're adding 2 cups of cornmeal. And I'm just going to take it, I'm going to incorporate it. So I don't want any lumps. I want all of the ingredients incorporated well. And then we're just going to let that sit to the side, and I am going to make a well in the center so that when we are ready we can pour our liquid into that. Now if you don't have any buttermilk, which I didn't have any today, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of fresh squeezed lemon juice to my 2 cups of water. I'm putting it in the food processor, and I'm adding 1/2 cup of light brown sugar. And to that, my corn is frozen corn that I just unthawed on the counter, and I'm putting 1.5 cups of that. Now when I go to process it, it depends on how big of chunks of corn you want. If you want them very fine, you're going to process that longer. But I don't really mind having pieces of corn in there, so I don't do it for very long. Now it's time that I add my eggs to the mixture. 4 eggs, and I'm using large size eggs. And when I go to process it right now, it's only going to be for about 5 seconds. I just want the eggs incorporated into the mixture, and I found that about 5 seconds will work for that. So this is what your batter should look like. And then we're going to pour it right into the well, and you can see my chunks of corn that are still there. And we want to incorporate this. Now you don't want to do it too much, and I'm adding 8 tablespoons of melted butter. So I'm just going to mix it enough so the butter's incorporated. There isn't any pockets of just the dry mixture. And then we're going to put it in 2 8-inch pans that I've already sprayed. And I'm going to give one of these to Mom and Dad, and one of them that we're going to enjoy at home. And so we're just going to put that in there. As you can see, it gets thicker and thicker as it sits. It just absorbs all the moisture. And I'll just take my spatula, and I'm going to smooth that out a little bit before I put it in the oven, which is set at 400 degrees. And I'm going to really do that for about 25 to 35 minutes. It really depends on your oven. You want to be able to put a toothpick in there, and it is all good. No batter coming out. Now I can put the toothpick in, but it hasn't gotten that golden brown, so I'm going to put it back in the oven for a little teeny bit because I'd like a little bit of golden brown on top, like you can see now. I let it cool, and here's the cornbread. Now I like to add a little bit of vanilla sugar to mine, so I buttered it. I'm just going to sprinkle a little teeny bit of sugar on there. Those are personal preferences. Some people like honey. I like butter, sugar, and a little bit of cream. If you didn't have cream, you could always put some milk with it. Delicious. Well, I hope you try some of this cornbread. Joe likes it with honey on it. I like it with butter, just a touch of sugar, and either milk or cream. Enjoy.